Discover the heartwarming love story that changed 1,000 lives in an unexpected, inspiring way. In the bleak town of Silverton, where faded factory smokestacks loom like the spirits of dreams long gone, there lived a woman named Emma, a single mother determined to create a bright future for her fiery daughter, Lily. Each day, they walked through cracked sidewalks adorned with weeds that seemed to mock the remnants of laughter once shared by neighborhood children. Emma's heart swelled with visions of hope, but her bank account echoed the emptiness of a town suffocated by despair. Still, together they forged laughter and joy, crafting a sanctuary within the four walls of their tiny home. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting a golden glow on the desolate playground, an idea sparked in Emma's mind, igniting a flame of possibility. What if we started a community garden? She mused aloud to Lily, their breaths visible in the crisp air. With gleaming eyes, Lily clapped her hands. We could grow tomatoes and carrots, maybe even daisies. Emma's heart danced at the thought of bringing families together, a place where they could share meals and cultivate not just plants but their long-lost camaraderie. However, the oppressive shadows of wealthy landowners who thrived while the community crumbled loomed over her dreams like thunderclouds. Their disdainful whispers lingered in her mind, but Emma stood firm. This was a chance for unity, she convinced herself. Just then, Jake entered the scene, a battle-worn veteran who carried his past like a heavy cloak. Their worlds collided when he overheard Emma's aspirations. He saw that light in her eyes, the same flicker he once had, the hope to rebuild what was lost. A bond quickly formed as they shared laughter and plans, taking a shared leap into a dream that began to bloom before them. As winter thawed into spring, Emma and Jake watched their garden sprout, and it started attracting others. Within the rich soil, a patch of hope emerged for families hungering for connection and fresh food. Children shrieked joyfully as they tended to cucumbers and marigolds, laughter filling the air like embers from a revitalized fire. It felt like the rebirth of a community torn apart, but challenges were hidden in the petals of their endeavor, sneering glances from the landowners who saw their ascent as a threat. Tensions erupted, pitting families against families, leaving a cloud of skepticism hovering in the air. Emma brushed off doubts as she nurtured the garden, fighting against the division that threatened to unravel their hard work. Yet, at the pinnacle of their triumph, a rumor spread across Silverton, a lie that sought to undermine everything they had built. Families whispered, divided by the same wealth that oppressed them, and Emma's heart sank. Doubts clawed at her resolve, putting her relationship with Jake to the test. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing amidst the chaos, Emma felt a wave of anger along with an unwavering urge to fight. She glanced at Lily, her small hands clutching her mother's. In this moment of turmoil, Emma realized she must battle for not just the garden, but for the spirit of their community, one that had long been lost. With the weight of her neighbors' hopes resting on her shoulders, she took a deep breath. The question loomed heavy in the air: could love and unity prevail against a tide so bitter and filled with prejudice? What would she choose, and could the garden survive, or crumble to dust? Emma's heart raced. The whispers choking the garden felt like a storm, gathering strength. Yet, in that moment, she felt a flicker of defiance igniting within her. She tightened her grip on Lily's hand and gathered the courage to speak up. We can't let them tear us apart, she said, her voice steady but low. We need to stand together, to show them we're stronger as one. Lily looked up at her mother, her big eyes filled with trust. We'll fight, Mommy, she declared, her small voice surprisingly fierce. Late that night, Emma tossed and turned, her mind racing over every possibility. She envisioned the garden, the laughter of children, the vibrant colors of the vegetables dancing in the sunlight. But the nagging fear of division loomed over her like a dark shadow. If they didn't come together, the whole community could fade back into silence. The next morning, Emma placed a call to her neighbors for a meeting. She scheduled it for that evening in the very heart of the garden, their sanctuary. They needed to talk about the rumors and their shared aspirations. As the sun dipped lower, streaks of orange spread across the sky as families began to arrive. Emma felt her heart pounding as they gathered under the makeshift canopy of twinkling lights strung between the tomato plants. People were hesitant at first, exchanging worried glances and whispering about the tension that had built up between families. Emma took a deep breath and stepped forward, trying to maintain a steady voice. "Thank you all for coming. We've created something beautiful here. I won't let it fade away." The crowd stirred, a mix of skepticism and curiosity washing over them. Emma continued, pouring her passion into every word. "This garden isn't just a space for growing food, it's about growing our community. We need to trust each other, support each other. This is our chance to change the tide." A murmur spread through the crowd. Some exchanged glances, a spark of hope kindling. Jake stood beside her, a steady presence, and chimed in, "Together, we are stronger. Those who want us divided only fear the love we have for this place." The promise of unity hung in the air like the smell of fresh earth after rain, potent and real. One neighbor stepped forward, a man with dirt under his nails and a skeptical expression. "But what about the rumors? What if it's too late?" Emma's heart constricted, she knew the risks they faced. What if we let fear define us? What if instead, we stand proud and show them our resolve? Together, she urged, locking eyes with her neighbors, we can't just defend the garden, we can transform it into a symbol of our strength. The words seemed to ignite something, an ember taking form into a flame. One by one, the crowd began to speak out, sharing their experiences, fears, and hopes. The air crackled with energy as shared stories pulled them tighter, weaving bonds that had been fraying. As the night deepened, laughter mingled with resolve, and Emma felt the weight lift. They were becoming a community again, reborn amidst the flowers and fresh soil. But just as she began to feel a flicker of triumph, as tendrils of hope curled around her heart, a shadow slipped into the circle, a figure cloaked in doubt, the landowner's voice cutting through the warmth. "You really think this will change anything? The garden is just a distraction," the voice sneered. Emma's stomach twisted as the crowd fell silent, her heart racing once more. Could their unity withstand this new wave of bitterness? Facing the crowd once more, she felt the weight of 1,000 hopes resting again on her shoulders. At this pivotal moment, she understood that love was only the beginning, proving its power would take every ounce of courage they possessed together. As the figure loomed, Emma realized a storm was brewing. And it could either uplift them or crush them into oblivion. The question remained, could love truly triumph, or would they sink back into the shadows? The tension in the air was palpable as the figure stepped closer, the harsh light casting ominous shadows across the garden. Emma could feel the weight of every gaze on her, the forgotten dreams of their community swirling like dust in the fading light. She took a deep breath, her heart racing, and made the decision to fight back, to reclaim their hope. "Every distraction you speak of is a lifeline for us," she replied, her voice steady despite the storm within her. "This garden has brought us together, sparked joy, created bond after bond. It's where we find strength, not weakness." A few heads nodded in silent agreement. The man's lips curled into a sneer, yet there was something in his eyes, uncertainty, perhaps? That gave Emma pause. Lily, sensing the heaviness, pulled at Emma's sleeve. "Mommy, can I talk?" she asked, her voice unwavering. Emma knelt down to meet her daughter's gaze, hopeful but wary. "Go ahead, sweetheart." Lily stepped forward, her tiny frame radiating the kind of confidence that could silence thunder. "This garden is magic. It has flowers, and veggies, and all kinds of bugs that buzz around. We play games here, we laugh, and we work together. Can't you see how happy it makes us?" The crowd responded, some smiles breaking through the tension. Emma felt warmth creep back into the atmosphere. There was purity in her daughter's words, simplicity that cut through the chaos like sunlight piercing through the clouds. The man shifted, the sneer faltering just a fraction. "And what happens when it's time to sell? When they take it away?" He shot back, unsure but defiant. "We'll fight." A voice echoed from the back, a neighbor Emma recognized from summer barbecues. "We can't keep living in fear. We've given so much life to this garden. It's not just dirt and plants, it's our homes." Encouraged by the outburst, Emma glanced around and saw more nods, more faces, as if suddenly awakened. "This is our choice," she said firmly, facing the crowd again. "We can look at this garden as a distraction, or we can see it as a foundation. It's our heritage, and we won't let anyone take that from us." Jake stepped in, taking a bold stance beside her. "We are a family. Let us show them what true community looks like. We'll gather, we'll defend our garden, and we will not back down." The fervor began to rise, hearts beating faster in the gathering dark as voices began to lift in unison, murmuring, sharing thoughts, building upon one another like a steady crescendo. Emma felt strength surging through her. But then, a voice broke through, clear and strong from the back. A woman Emma had always admired spoke. "We have something beautiful here, yes, but if we don't stand by it together, we'll lose not just the garden, we'll lose each other." The crowd fell into a hushed silence, reflecting on the truth of her words. Solidarity, trust, connection. Each phrase wrapped tightly around hope, the urgency of togetherness. "Let us make a plan," Emma called out, rallying her neighbors. "Let us decide how we will fight for our home. This garden has given so much to us, it's time we give back." As the community began to brainstorm, a fire flared in their hearts. Emma smiled, knowing that the dawn might still be some time away, but it was coming. Yet, as the meeting drew to a close and the voices faded into the night, she spotted a familiar face lingering at the edge, someone she hadn't seen in a while. Tom, a quiet neighbor who distanced himself after past disagreements, looked deep in thought. Did he want to join them? Or did he silently carry doubts that could turn their fragile unity into rubble? Emma felt an urgency swell within her, knowing that the next move, the next conversation, could change everything. She took a step toward him, ready to reach out, but her heart trembled with uncertainty. Could they bring him back into the fold, or would his distance only tear at their efforts? Emma pushed herself forward, determined to find out. She had to know if love for their community and this garden was enough. As she approached Tom, ready to speak, she felt the weight of the night pressing in, and a hint of dread mixed with hope. Would this open door lead to healing or despair? Emma took a deep breath before reaching Tom, her heart fluttering wildly in her chest. She hadn't spoken to him in months, not since the tension in their community had peaked. They used to joke in the garden, share plants and stories over coffee, and now there was an irrepressible distance between them, as wide as the autumn sky. "Tom," she said softly, her voice cracking slightly. "Can we talk?" He looked up, his eyes shadowed, the light catching a flicker of warmth for just a moment. "Emma," he replied, almost hesitantly. "I wasn't sure you'd want to." "No," she interrupted, urgency spilling into her voice. "I want to. We need you. The garden needs everyone, especially you." Tom ran a hand through his hair, glancing back at the crowd. His face was lined with worry, and Emma could see the turmoil within him. "You know I didn't agree with everything that was going on," he muttered, almost a defense. "I know, but this isn't about past disagreements. It's about standing together now. It's not just a garden anymore. It's our home." Emma stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Lily needs this place. Our community needs it. It's a part of us." His eyes softened for a fleeting moment, and Emma felt a glimmer of connection reignite, a tentative bridge forming amid the tensions of the past. "I've been angry," Tom admitted, his voice dropping. "I just thought we were losing ourselves, getting lost in all of this." "It was never about losing ourselves," she urged, her tone earnest. It's about finding who we are, together. Look around, Tom. These people, this garden, they are counting on us to remember. To fight. As he stood there, she could see the conflict on his face. Pain and doubt clashed with flickers of light memories of shared joys, laughter echoing in the midst of tomatoes and sunflowers. Emma reached for him then, hoping to pull him back into the fold. We have something beautiful here, she continued. And you're a part of that. We need your voice. We need your strength. He hesitated, glancing back at the crowd that was still buzzing with energy, each person full of passion and resolve. Emma could sense the shift, the way hope was clawing its way through doubt, how her words began to reach him. What if I falter again? He finally said, almost a whisper. What if my doubts tear at us? Emma shook her head, feeling the warmth of community wrap around them like a blanket. We'll catch you. And we'll catch each other. We're here to lift one another, Tom. To reclaim what's ours. Together. Tom's gaze fell to the ground, and for the first time Emma didn't feel the weight of his distance. Instead, she saw the possibility, the spark of resilience forming where fear had once resided. So, what's the plan? He asked, his voice steadier now. A wave of relief washed over Emma, and she broke into a smile. We'll start meeting regularly. We can create a schedule, hold brainstorming sessions. We'll gather everyone's input, work on a petition, even plan community events to showcase the garden's importance. People will see what it means to us. As they began sketching ideas on a nearby piece of scrap paper, laughter rippled from the crowd again, voices mingling in spirited debate, new life breathed into old friendships. Each one reignited the fire within Emma's heart, and just then, as the moment felt golden, like the last rays of summer light, a sudden noise broke through the discussion, a low rumbling, unmistakably close. The air shifted, tension sizzling anew. What was that? Emma asked, her voice tense as she turned to look toward the sound. As the crowd hushed, eyes turned to the horizon, an ominous silhouette appeared in the distance, one that could change everything they had just begun to rebuild. Emma felt a chill run down her spine as doubt slipped back in, mingling with her hope. What was coming? Was it truly an end, or could it be a beginning? Emma squinted against the fading light, her heart racing as the ominous silhouette grew closer. It was hard to make out the shape, but the sound, a deep rumbling, sent a wave of apprehension through the crowd. Faces turned pale, and whispers floated through the air, a mix of disbelief and fear. What is it? Someone called out, their voice trembling. Tom's eyes locked onto the horizon, and Emma felt the warmth of hope begin to slip away. They had just begun to mend the fragile threads of their community, and now this, whatever it was, threatened to unravel it all over again. Let us not panic, she called out, trying to project confidence. We need to find out what's happening. Tom stepped closer to her, still looking toward the approaching figure. What if it's a threat? He murmured, almost to himself. Emma grabbed his arm, steadying herself as much as him. Whatever it is, we stick together, right? Just like we talked about. He nodded, though his expression remained uneasy. As the noise grew louder, a dust cloud billowed behind the shape, casting long shadows on the ground. Emma took a deep breath, the air thick with uncertainty. The silhouette resolved itself into the form of a vehicle, its large wheels churning up dirt as it barreled down the path leading into their community garden. It was an unfamiliar sight, stark against the tranquil backdrop of sunflowers and herbs. Emma could feel her heart thumping louder than ever now, each beat laced with dread and anticipation. The vehicle skidded to a halt in front of the crowd. Emma squinted, trying to make out the figures emerging. A group of people, strangers, poured out, their faces draped in seriousness. One of them stepped forward, holding a clipboard, and Emma braced herself as he approached. Who are you? Emma demanded, her voice firmer than she felt. The man raised his hands, palms out. We're here to talk about the land, he said. We're with the city planning office. Confusion rippled through the group. Sarah, an elderly woman standing beside Emma, frowned deeply. "What do you want with our garden?" The man cleared his throat, glancing at his companions before meeting Emma's gaze again. "We've received reports concerns about the use of this land. There are plans for development, and we need to assess the situation." Emma's stomach dropped. "Development? What do you mean?" "It's an expansion initiative," he explained. "They want to build a shopping center on this land to boost local economy. It's a proposal that's been in the works for months, and we're here to evaluate." A murmur erupted in the crowd, like a wave crashing against the shore. Emma felt the weight of panic settle in the air. Everything they had fought for, every seed they had planted, was it really going to be torn away? "We can't let them take this from us," Tom yelled, now standing beside Emma, the fire back in his eyes. "This isn't just land, it's our community." Emma turned to Tom, surprised by the fierce conviction in his voice. It was a reminder that even in chaos, unity was possible. "We'll fight," she stated, her determination solidifying within her. "We have to gather support, tell our stories. We can't back down now. Not when we've just started to rise again." The crowd began to echo her sentiment, voices building in a stirring chorus, each person ignited with renewed purpose. Yet, amidst the rallying cries, Emma couldn't shake the fear that lingered in her heart. Were they strong enough to face this challenge? Would their fight for the garden be in vain? As they turned back to face the strangers, Emma realized they were standing on the brink of something monumental. Decisions lurked just ahead, choices that could either solidify their community or tear it apart. Was this the end of what they had built together? Or could it also be the beginning of a fight for something greater than themselves? The weight of uncertainty pressed against her as she prepared to take the first step into the unknown. Emma's heart raced as she attempted to rally her shaken neighbors. The murmurs of worry buzzed around her like angry wasps. The strangers stood patiently, clipboard in hand, seemingly unmoved by the urgency of the moment. She felt an urge to confront them, to demand answers, but anger wouldn't solve their problems, action would. "Okay, everyone," she called out, raising her voice to cut through the chaos. "We need a plan. This garden is not just dirt and plants, it's our lifeline. We can't let them destroy what we've built. We need to protect it." Some nodded in agreement. Others looked doubtful. Emma noticed Tom step forward beside her, his expression serious but fierce. "We should organize a meeting," he suggested, casting a look towards the city officials. "We need to find out exactly what they want and formulate a response." The official with the clipboard shifted uncomfortably but didn't interject. Emma took that as a small victory. "Tom's right. Let us set a time to meet and discuss our options." "No," Sarah shouted, her voice breaking through the tension. "We can't just sit around waiting for them to take it. This land is ours by right. We've nurtured it. We've given it life." Emma felt a swell of emotion. "You're right, Sarah. We can't wait." She looked at the official again. "What's the timeline on this development?" The man adjusted his glasses and glanced at his colleagues before responding. "I cannot provide an exact timeline, but the proposals are being evaluated. If you need to set up a meeting, I would recommend doing so quickly. Then let us get moving." Tom encouraged, his energy infectious. "We should gather everyone we can. Family members, friends, let's share why this garden matters. There's power in our stories." As the crowd began to disperse, a flicker of hope ignited within Emma's chest. Perhaps they really could make a difference. As she followed Tom out of the center of the commotion, she felt a slight pull on her sleeve. It was Sarah, her eyes glistening. "Emma, before we go, I want to share something," she said softly. "You've always had a way of bringing us together. This garden, it's more than plants. It reminds us of who we are, of community. Don't lose that spirit." "I won't," Emma promised, her voice steady because she knew in her heart that Sarah was right. It was about more than just dirt and seeds, it was about belonging, history, and their dreams. Together, they walked back to the garden, the first stars starting to twinkle in the evening sky. Emma felt a surge of determination wash over her as she envisioned the meetings, the discussions, and the plans that would unfold. They could mobilize, they could fight not just for a piece of land, but for a unified future. Yet, as they approached the garden, there was a chilling thought in the back of Emma's mind. What if this fight was about more than just the garden? What if they were facing something even larger than their community's dreams? Emma. Tom called, breaking her reverie. Look. She turned, her heart skipping a beat when she noticed a flicker of lights in the distance. It was another vehicle, smaller but undeniably moving toward them. Panic surged again. Is it more of them? She wondered aloud, a knot tightening in her stomach. Tom's jaw set. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. But as the vehicle drew closer, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something far more complicated than a simple fight for their garden. What other truths lay in wait? The uncertainty hung heavily in the air as they braced for whatever would come next. As the small vehicle approached, its headlights cut through the dimming light of dusk, illuminating the anxious faces of Emma, Tom, and Sarah. The thrum of uncertainty hummed in the air, drawing them closer together as they tried to gauge the situation. Emma could feel her heart thumping in response to the restless energy that buzzed between them. The vehicle came to a stop a few yards from the garden, the engine humming a soft farewell as silence enveloped them. From inside, the door swung open and a woman emerged, her silhouette framed by the glow of the lights behind her. Emma squinted against the brightness, trying to discern the features of this unexpected visitor. "Who is that?" Sarah whispered, edging closer to Emma, her brows knitted together in concern. Tom stepped forward, his posture straightening. "Let us find out." The woman took a tentative step forward, revealing a weathered face marked by worry yet lit with determination. She raised a hand, palm facing them in a gesture of goodwill. "Please," she called out, her voice steady yet laced with urgency. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to help." Emma exchanged a glance with Tom and Sarah, uncertainty still lingering like shadows in the twilight. "Help how?" Emma asked, her voice cautious. "I'm from the city's planning office," the woman continued, her eyes scanning the gathered crowd. "I've been listening to the discussions around here. I know you all care deeply about this garden. The information hasn't been communicated well. I want to explain what's happening. There are some alternatives." Emma felt a flicker of hope. "Alternatives?" "Yes," she nodded, stepping closer. "For the past few months, we've been looking into developing more parks and green spaces in the area. Your garden is significant, but it's being lumped into a larger project that requires community input. The city is at a crossroads. We want your voices. We need your stories." Tom took a step closer, excitement sparking in his eyes. "We can voice our concerns? Tell our stories?" "Exactly," the woman replied, a small smile breaking through her serious demeanor. "And I believe together you can influence the outcome. This garden isn't just about plants, it demonstrates a community that thrives together." Emma's mind raced. Could they really have a say? Was it possible they could keep their garden and inspire something even greater for their neighborhood? She felt a warmth spreading in her chest, a renewed sense of purpose. "What do we need to do?" Emma asked, leaning in, anticipation bubbling within her. "You'll need to gather support, document what this garden means to you, and organize a presentation for the hearing next month." Then she hesitated, glancing back towards her vehicle. "I can help you navigate the paperwork. Activate your community. This can be your moment." The weight of the possibilities hung in the air, mingling with the last rays of sunlight. Excited murmurs passed through the group, and Emma could see small sparks of hope igniting in her neighbor's eyes. But as she felt this swell of optimism, a sudden unease crept back into Emma's heart. If the city saw their proposal as an opportunity, who else would take notice? Were there deeper motives behind this change? "Thank you," Emma said, her voice strong, though uncertainty clung to her words. "We'll take this chance. But what happens after? Will we still have to fight?" The woman's expression faltered for a moment. "It won't be easy. Change rarely is. But if you rally together, if you are firm in your resolve." She paused. "Sometimes the hardest fights bring the greatest rewards." Emma nodded, her heart racing afresh. They had a path forward, a chance at something more significant. Together, they could shape their future. As the evening deepened, Emma felt the weight of the moment. This was just the beginning. Meanwhile, she couldn't shake the sense that more was at play: the city, the developers, the fate of the garden. What unseen forces were stirring together with their hopeful rally? "Let's meet tomorrow," Tom said, breaking her thoughts. "We'll plan." But as Emma turned back toward the garden, she felt a new undercurrent of apprehension. This moment might redefine everything, but at what cost? The silhouette of the woman lingered in her mind, leaving a lingering question: could they truly harness their unity, or would the forces working against them prove stronger than their resolve? The next morning, Emma woke before the sun, her mind racing. Her heart thrummed with the urgency of their new mission. She slipped out of bed, the chill of dawn seeping through the windows. Today was crucial. The garden, her sanctuary, a slice of nature amidst the urban chaos, had a chance. Scrambling to her desk, she jotted down ideas and thoughts that whirled in her head like leaves caught in a gust of wind. Gathering her notes, she arrived at the garden early to meet Tom and Sarah. The air was fresh and crisp, filled with the earthy scent of dew-kissed grass. As she stepped inside the garden, the rugged beauty of the wildflowers greeted her, their vibrant colors contrasting against the soft greens of the leaves. Emma felt a surge of love for this place that had become like a second home. Tom was already there, pacing slightly. "I brought some supplies," he said, his voice laced with excitement and nerves. "We need to make this count." He held up a few markers and poster boards, the raw materials for their campaign. "Perfect!" Emma exclaimed, her excitement contagious. Sarah arrived a few moments later, her brow furrowed with determination. "I spoke with a few neighbors last night," she announced. "They're on board. They want to help. If we organize a meeting, we can spread the word." Emma's heart lifted. This was what they needed: a united front. As they gathered in a circle, she could see their confidence building. Together, they crafted a plan: flyers to pass around the community, a gathering to share stories, and letters to send to the city council. Each idea sparked more energy, igniting the dormant passion in their hearts. However, Emma couldn't shake her nagging doubts. What if the city, in its quest for progress, dismissed the voices of the residents? The thought nagged at her like a stubborn itch. As they created their vision of hope, uncertainties loomed like dark clouds overhead. With their plans laid out, they decided to present their first gathering at the local community center. Emma felt the weight of the task ahead, standing at the intersection of courage and fear. As afternoon approached, they all headed to the center, buzzing with anticipation but also heavy anxiety. Inside, the room was bright but sparse. Little by little, familiar faces began to trickle in. Each smile added to the collective warmth pooling in Emma's chest. They gathered around her, their eyes reflecting hope and concern. Emma stood at the front, taking a deep breath to steady herself, the flutter of nervousness awakening in her stomach. "This garden," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "is more than just plants. It's our history, our community. It's where we laughed, cried, and celebrated. If we lose this, we lose a piece of ourselves." People nodded in agreement, murmuring affirmations. Tom stepped forward. "We can create something even better. But we need your voices, your stories. Together, we can make the city listen. They can't ignore us if we stand strong." Encouragement filled the room, and stories began to spill from every corner of weddings celebrated under the blooming trees, children playing hide and seek among the flowers, and the elderly sharing quiet moments on benches. Each story wove a tapestry of memories that made up the vivid heart of the garden, but as the sunlight started to dip, casting long shadows across the room, Emma felt an unsettling stillness fill the space. "But what if they don't care?" she asked, her voice breaking the hopeful momentum. A silence greeted her alarm, heavy with the unspoken fears they all held inside. She could almost see the flicker of doubt reflected in their eyes. Just then, a voice piped up from the back. "If we don't try, they definitely won't care. We owe it to our community to fight." A ripple of nods and murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd, reigniting the spark. They leaned toward one another, united against the unknown challenge ahead. Emma realized they had a chance not just to save their garden, but to truly connect and grow together. As they began to formulate more strategies, outlines of a peaceful protest, the energy began to shift. But just as hope surged anew, the door swung open, and a dark figure stepped inside, tightly clutching a folder that emanated authority. The air turned heavy with tension, and Emma's heart dropped as recognition washed over her. "Who is that?" Sarah whispered, her eyes widening. Emma felt ice in her veins. "That's Mr. Collins, the city planner," she muttered, fear etching a line across her face. What was he doing here? What impact would his presence have on their gathering? Emma's pulse quickened. The fight was just beginning, and the stakes had never been higher. Emma's breath hitched as Mr. Collins stepped further into the room. He was a tall man, with an air of authority that sent a chill down her spine. His suit was neat, but his eyes sharp and calculating swept over the gathering, as if he were a hawk hunting for prey. She felt the collective breath of the room catch, their previously vibrant energy dampened by his mere presence. "Good afternoon," he began, his voice deliberately calm. "I couldn't help but notice the gathering here. I wanted to hear firsthand about your plans." His gaze landed on Emma, piercing but oddly curious. She fought the urge to shrink away, forcing herself to stand tall. "We're here to discuss the future of the community garden," she replied, her voice trembling but resolute. "We believe it's vital for our neighborhood." "Vital?" He raised an eyebrow, and a smirk teased at the corner of his lips. "You realize the city has plans to develop this space? To promote growth, expand infrastructure, create jobs? And destroy our garden?" Tom interjected, his tone defiant. "This place holds our history. Our families have grown here." "I appreciate your passion," Mr. Collins replied dryly, glancing around the room, "but sometimes progress requires sacrifices. You can't stop the city from advancing." Whispers broke out among the crowd. Emma's heart raced as she watched the hope in her neighbor's eyes flicker like a candle caught in a gust of wind. But something inside her stirred a resilient spark. She took a tiny step forward, drawing on the strength of the stories they had just shared. "What if we don't want to sacrifice anything?" Emma's voice rang out, stronger now. "What if progress can coexist with our community's identity? The garden can be a part of the future you're envisioning." Mr. Collins' gaze narrowed. "You think the city will listen to personal stories? They look at numbers, facts, and development proposals." "But that's where you're wrong," Sarah chimed in, stepping beside Emma. "Personal stories are what drive change. They make people feel. We can show you how this garden is more than just plants, it's about people. Connections. Memories." A murmur of agreement flowed from the crowd, and Emma felt the rhythm building again. She could sense the room shift as everyone gathered their courage like a collective shield against the wave of despair threatening to wash over them. Mr. Collins hesitated, and for a moment, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "What do you propose?" he asked, his tone noticeably softer. Emma took a breath, pulling every ounce of courage she could muster. "We organize a community event. A day in the garden, where everyone from the kids who play here to the elderly who find peace beneath the trees can share why it matters to them. We invite you, the City Council, to see firsthand what this place means. A challenge hung in the air, the room brimming with a shared anticipation that felt electric. Mr. Collins's eyes locked onto hers, and she couldn't read his expression. "Fine," he said finally, the edges of his mouth curving in a reluctant smile, "I'll attend. But I can't make any promises. You'll need to be prepared." "Yes," Tom shouted, punching the air in triumph. As the gathering erupted in applause, Emma's heart swelled. Hope surged anew. This was their moment, an opportunity to educate, to inspire, to be heard, but as the sounds of celebration began to drown out her anxieties, a cold wave of realization washed over her. What if the event didn't go as planned? What if the city still turned a blind eye? "Emma." Sarah's voice sliced through her thoughts. "You did great. We can do this." "Yes." Emma smiled, though the worry remained. They took their first step, but the journey ahead loomed large and daunting. As the group began to brainstorm ideas for the event, Emma allowed herself a fleeting moment of hope. Suddenly, the door creaked open again, and a new figure appeared, this time with an air of both urgency and anger. Emma's gut twisted. "Why are you wasting your time in here when there are bigger issues outside?" The voice belonged to someone well known in the neighborhood. A local activist with a reputation for stirring up trouble. Emma, heart racing anew, knew this was going to change everything. What would this new arrival bring to their cause? Would it fortify their strength, or derail their plans entirely? As the activist strode into the community center, her presence commanded attention. It was Nina, a fierce advocate for neighborhood rights. Emma had seen her rally crowds before, her speeches igniting flames of passion and determination. Today, however, that fire looked dangerously volatile. "What are you doing planning a cozy little gathering?" Nina demanded, her voice sharp like a blade. "You think a cute event will save your garden? The city doesn't care about your feelings. We need to take action." The energy in the room shifted again. Emma felt her heart drop. Could Nina's presence help or hurt? "Nina, we're trying to engage the community and the city," Emma replied, her voice steady despite the chaotic flutter in her chest. "We want to show them what we've built here." Nina scoffed, folding her arms across her chest, skepticism written all over her face. "You think they'll listen to your stories over profit? They will bulldoze this garden if it serves their interests. I have a plan for a demonstration that will make them pay attention." Emma swallowed hard, the conflicting desires of heart and head gripping her tightly. Her community garden was precious, but she felt this moment hinged on more than just a display of defiance. "I understand your passion, Nina. But what about the stories? They are all part of this fight. We need love and solidarity." The standoff hung in the air, every eye bouncing between the two women. Was her neighbor's fierce approach more necessary than her gentler path? "You're naive if you think laughter and smiles will change anything." Nina shot back. Tom stepped in, trying to diffuse the rising tension. "We can combine both strategies. We can make noise and make our voices heard. Flags and banners could accompany our stories. Think of it as a celebration of our community's spirit." Emma felt her heart skip as she caught flickers of excitement from others in the room. They wanted to stand together, not be splintered from within. Frequent nods met Tom's proposal, people craving a collaboration instead of a fracture. "Okay," Nina relented after a tense silence, hands unclenching slightly. "If we're going to do this, let us make it as loud and visual as possible. But we have to plan well. You need rambunctious energy to make an impact." As they began to blend their ideas, the heavy weight of uncertainty transformed into something lighter. Emma, Tom, and Sarah pulled Nina into their circle, and together they painted a picture of the forthcoming event, a vibrant gathering filled with stories, art, and protest. Laughter crept back into the space, hopes twinkled in the eyes of neighbors, and excitement buzzed around as they crafted a compelling invitation for the community. "Let us meet tomorrow to finalize the plans," Emma suggested, feeling the warmth of collaboration filling the room. Days passed as preparations unfolded with vigor. The garden bloomed, laden with color and promise once more, while Emma felt the pulse of unity in her community. On the day of the event, the sun shone brightly, illuminating faces both familiar and new. The once faded playground was alive with energy, laughter spilling like sunlight, weaving their dreams into reality. Emma stood on a makeshift stage, flanked by vines and blooms, heart racing. "Thank you all for being here," she called out to the crowd, seeing families, friends, and even some unfamiliar faces. "This garden means everything to us, but we are also part of something bigger. Our community deserves to have a voice." The crowd erupted in applause mixed with laughter and shouts of agreement, each hand raised as they stood united. And there in the midst, Emma saw her daughter, Lily, weaving between neighbors, her joy contagious, her laughter weaving new threads in their community fabric. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma's confidence soared. They marched and laughed, banners lifted high as they shared stories of the garden, voices raised in hope against the backdrop of an uncertain future. But as they turned to march through the heart of Silverton, the thunder of footsteps resonated against the pavement, echoing their shared resolve. They would fight for this garden, this piece of home, together. As the sound of their voices filled the air, Emma felt a stillness in her heart. This was the moment, the culmination of all their struggles, fears, and dreams finally embracing the light. It wasn't just about a garden anymore, it was about reclaiming their place in the world, and from somewhere deep within, she knew whatever came next, they would face it together, and perhaps that was the most significant change of all. So, as the bustling crowds chanted lyrics of unity, a final thought brushed through Emma's mind: this love, this community, was a force that could transform the world. It was never just about the garden, it was about the hearts it touched. Now it was time to step into those new beginnings. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories of transformation. Leave a like now to fuel this journey and encourage our amazing community. Comment your thoughts, reactions, and the feelings this ending stirred within you. Share instantly this video with 5 friends who need to feel this kind of transformation. This is the moment to show your support and help us keep the light shining brightly. Don't wait not even one more second.